Hello and welcome to the Dominion Daily for January 12th, 2026. We got a Rising Sun plus Base Kingdom today. And we got Chapel, Rice Broker, River Shrine, trashing, so plenty of trashing. For Draw Artist, Rice Broker trashing actions can draw, and then Daimyo in general can be draw, although it's actually a little okay, so you could Daimyo Artist and that will draw. Playing a bunch of Daimyos and an Artist is, in the general case, going to be overkill on that. And aside from that, playing a bunch of Daimyos on a Rice Broker probably isn't very desirable. There's also Vassal. Daimyoing Vassals could sort of act like draw, right? If enough of the Vassals hit, the Daimyo, the Daimyo itself is not a stop card. Vassal is not a stop card contingent upon it revealing something, some action that it can play. And then if that happens multiple times, then the net effect from Daimyo replaying the Vassal is draw-like. It's not necessarily like increasing your hand size depending on what Vassal is revealing, but it is at least moving through your deck. So yeah, I mean, normally it's like look for just like a cantrip or something, but here it's a little weird. But that that could still be a thing anyway. And then plus actions is just Daimyo. Again, yeah, I mean, you can. There's going to be some potentially awkward choices for that, because again, like Daimyoing an Artist a whole bunch of times doesn't seem amazing. I mean, especially if you do want to play with a bunch of Vassals, because then if you draw your whole deck with Artist and then the Vassals don't have any targets, that could be annoying. Yeah, altogether, the Daimyo situation definitely potentially looks awkward. And then gain-wise, there's also no plus buy. There is Workshop, so you can get some extra gains out of Workshop. You can also get some gold off of Bandit. I'm not so sure that you super want gold here, although... Yeah, I guess it depends on whether you want to go for gardens or just want to go for provinces. I mean, with Workshop being one of the available vectors for gaining cards, I think you do probably want to play with it, like just so that you have the option to pick up some gardens or even estates, at some point in the game. But I guess it doesn't necessarily follow that you have to do stuff with Vassal. Like, you could just have, like, try to draw with Artist and Rice Broker and then spend your terminal space on a combination of Workshop and Bandit. Well, yeah, it definitely does not look like a particularly powerful kingdom or a particularly smooth build. I think starting with a Chapel looks good. You can eventually Rice Broker the Chapel and get your deck to a point where it doesn't have any any junk in it. That does run counter to the garden stuff, but I think the amount of control, and like, it is typically the case, and I think this is going to be the case here, where like, even though you thin your deck down and that makes gardens not very good, provinces are going to be worth enough more than gardens regardless, that's like that's very much worth doing. Like going for gardens is not going to be probably very effective. And yeah, having a workshop around for gardens is more just like so that you can, nudge yourself a little bit ahead of your opponent, in the case where you split the provinces or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, chapel, and then what? I guess I'll go ahead and click on chapel. Price broker opening. That is really good, and I'm jealous. We could go ahead and get the workshop. Workshop could start putting like vassals into the deck. We could just take a silver with the intent to, potentially try to hit 5 or something. Vassal is also an option where, if the chapel and the silver, like if you open chapel silver and they collide, there's not. I mean, I guess you can take a seller, but not. It's not really a card that you are super excited to have. Obviously, you have the same problem if chapel vassal collide, but if you have the vassal not colliding with the chapel, then the vassal gives you a slightly increased chance of like getting through the deck and finding the chapel. And it also just cycles the deck more in general, so that is nice. But it does also mean that like on the subsequent shuffle, when you want to play the chapel again, you might have terminal collision. I am leaning towards we're going to want to play with Bandit, which makes me think that silver is the way to go. And not ideal. It cannot possibly be correct to take Daimyo or Artist at this point. Okay, so we have 5. The question is, do we want Bandit or Rice Broker? Obviously, Bandit can collide with the Chapel. It's fairly likely to do so. Rice Broker isn't going to help us very much in terms of hitting 5 again, unless or until we're ready to trash the Chapel, which we are not currently ready to do. Yeah, just getting 1 or 2 golds in the deck will help a lot in terms of, okay, now we can buy like Artist and Daimyo and things and like actually have the money for them, is my reasoning. I think I'm going to take the Bandit. Yeah. All right. We could take a Daimyo now. Daimyoing Bandit would not be bad at all if we get that opportunity. Seller potentially has some merit, but next turn, I mean, we have 3 coppers in here and an estate. So yeah, I think I'm going to take the Daimyo. Okay. Well, now we're getting somewhere. um, so what do we want? We want potentially a rice broker and a workshop. Probably, well, admittedly, right now the workshop looks like, now that our deck is full of gold, the workshop looks less good in terms of like, oh, what's it going to gain? Oh, it's going to gain vassals. Like, well, I mean, I guess it could also gain silvers. I do feel like I'm kind of far ahead in terms of ability to just start provincing, and it might be correct to just do that rather than detouring into a workshop. Getting another daimyo is not going to do too much, I don't think. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. We could go ahead and get a rice broker. I mean, if we daimyo bandit again, that would not be a bad thing by any means. But is it like the most useful thing that we can do here? Hard to say. Artist does not look great. Taking the 2 debt does not look great. Like, and we can only, the only way that we can even draw cards with artist is if we daimyo it. Otherwise, it's just a cantrip. I mean, that could still conceivably work out to our benefit, but like, do we expect to, like, it's really only worth getting an artist if we expect to get more daimyos, and I don't know to what extent we do expect to do that. The rice broker big draw is not going to be necessarily super relevant either. Like, it's not like we can trash a chapel and then draw our whole deck and then we have plus buy or something. So I'm kind of leaning one more daimyo, and then potentially at some point in the future, if we miss province, we can consider like rice broker artist or something. But and yeah, I think I'm just going to start provincing. Yeah, the bot can go for gardens, and I just don't think that's going to be very effective. I think we have 3 golds along with the chapel and the bandit down there, so I think that's fine. Not that there's anything we could have done about it if it wasn't. Well, that's unfortunate. I think I'm just buying duchy here. god. Oh my god. Come on. We have so much gold in the deck. Okay. Ugh. That was such a bad shuffle. Like, holy crap. And I mean, yeah, so maybe instead of the daimyo, the rice broker would have been better than, like, you know, the one chapel trash if we had hit it, or trashing the bandit. Although that's not what we saw, right? We saw chapel bandit together. I don't know. That was I am surprised. Really, what I'm surprised by is how many provinces the bot was able to get with this deck. Because lining up those vassals seems challenging. Like the gardens were the gardens were worth 1 point each. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The gardens were not doing anything. Like, it was all about whether the bot could get province. I shouldn't say not doing anything. I mean, they had, you know, it was like the bot could have won if it had hit another province on this last turn. It would have had 28 to my 30 if it hadn't said no. Actually, no, that's not even true. It would have had to be able to get a province, which boosted it to 28 to my 30, and then it would have needed multiple gardens. I guess if it had gotten like gardens plus like literally anything, but why wouldn't it be 2 gardens if, assuming those games were coming from workshop, and where else would they come from? Anyway, if it gotten 2 gardens, then its gardens would have actually ticked as well, and then it would have had a lot more points. But yeah, the odds of it being able, of the bot being able to like get to that province is the thing that is like, the bot province like 3 turns in a row with this deck, which is really surprising. Daimyo, vassal. Yeah, I mean, that will do it for sure. Daimyo is seller, and then you get some plus actions. Vassal into daimyo to vassal. Yeah, okay. Daimyo, vassal, and found the 1 silver that I didn't manage to trash. But yeah, mostly, I mean, having to get like duchy here and here, I feel like was just not a very likely thing. Like, I know I got a couple of extra golds towards the end. Played the bandit here and here, but and obviously, like, I had some green cards at the end, but like, I only need to see 3 of my treasures in any given hand, you know. And the end state composition was, if we discount the last gold that I gained, right, we had 9 treasures compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 before the last province that I got. So it was about, I guess it was close to 50-50 by the end, but that was after I had already gained the 2 duchies. Before I gained the 2 duchies, right, and I had 4 provinces, Chapel Bandit, so that's 6 cards that are, like, the daimyos aren't stop cards, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, 6 of these, and then I guess 8 or 9 treasures, depending on the timing of when I gained the second to last gold. So yeah, I guess it's not that unlikely that I would have 1 turn in my shuffle where I didn't hit province, but having 2 turns in a row, like, that was pretty unfortunate. So overall, the point being, I think that, like, my approach, like, I would expect, like, there's a lot of variance, of course, but I would expect that this approach beats what the bot was doing, like, pretty heavily, like, you know, in terms of probability. I do like the bot's opening, getting the rice broker. I think in that scenario, if you followed it up with
with like a build similar to what I did, that you know, then having the ability to Rice Broker the Chapel potentially, or Rice Broker the Bandit would make it just that much better. Or even Rice Broker a Daimyo, actually. Like, that would still, you know, help you hit province for sure. So, yeah. Anyway, definitely not the most interesting board, but oh well. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.